I'm Education Specialist Gwen Roth with the Hamilton County Conservation District, and today we're going to go out in the field with Conservation Program Specialist Erin Habig to talk all about water in Hamilton County. Let's go meet Erin. So this is Erin Habig, and Erin, could you just tell us a little bit about what you do for the district?
So my primary responsibility is inspecting job sites for erosion and sediment control for the MS4 permit. I also do landowner drainage consults. I do work with the farmers here in the county. I do agricultural pollution abatement. A little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything. And today we're going to focus on just that one part that he said about homeowner drainage consultations. So let's go out in the field and talk a little bit more about those drainage issues.
Sounds good.
So Erin and I came out in the field today to talk about water, and we are surrounded by some amazingly beautiful water right now. But water can also cause a lot of problems, and we've been getting a lot of calls in our office about water. So Erin, can you explain why some people keep calling us about water?
So the biggest reason we're having so many drainage issues right now is the increased intensity of the rainfalls we're getting. Last year was the second wettest year on record in Cincinnati. We just had the second wettest May on record here in Cincinnati. So, we're just getting a lot more rain in a short amount of time.
Right.
And the existing drainage patterns just weren't designed for that or set up for that.
So a lot of people are calling us about that water in their yard, right?
Correct. Water in the yard, flooding issues with their house, and just, trying to figure out what's the best way to handle it.
So what can we do with that?
So the Conservation District offers a service where we will go out and do a drainage consult for any property owner, look at their existing conditions and give them some technical advice on ideas that might work for them to manage the water on their property.
So say I call you because I maybe have some ponding in my yard, and you come out. What general, I know you can't see my yard right now, but what kind of general recommendations might you make to me about the water in my yard?
So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the topography of your yard. Where does water come onto your property? Where does it leave your property? What are the conditions on your property? Are you having issues with just ponding water in the yard? Are you having issues with water against the house and maybe against your foundation? And then from there, try to figure out what's the best way to handle that water and move that water through your property or infiltrate it into your property to where it's not going to be a problem.
So my first assumption would be, let's get that water off my property. Let's just move it away. Okay? Can I do that?
So you can do that. You just want to make sure that you're not moving it someplace where it hasn't historically gone. So Ohio water rights laws are a civil law, so there's not a jurisdiction that's going to tell you you have to do this. It's basic law, and everything's handled through the court system. So if the basics are, you have to accept water on your property where it comes on naturally. You can sort of do what you want with it while it's on your property, so long as it then exits your property where it has historically exited.
Okay.
So you can't, if the water is sort of flown north to south on your property, you can't have it flow north to east or north to west.
Okay. So laws say that I have to accept it from my neighbor, and I have to give it to my neighbor that historically has always gotten it, but I could do whatever I want with it on my property.
Correct. So the trick is figuring out what's going to work best on your specific property for managing the water in the ways that you're looking for. So some people are concerned with helping reduce the amount of stormwater coming off their property. We're going to work with you on that. Other people, you just have such a glut of water that the best thing for you to do is to move it through your property where it would naturally go. And so each case is going to be very specific to your conditions.
Absolutely. So what are some of the things you usually recommend? And I know you can't see, like my yard has a lot of ponding in it, and I know you can't see that right now, but if you were to go out into somebody's yard and they had some issues in their yard with ponding of water, what are some things you might recommend?
So what I want to do is first see where the water's coming onto your property and where it would naturally exit your property. And then is there a way to sort of get that flow to be a steady flow through the property rather than it ponding?
And is there a way to do that?
So it depends on your topography, but generally what we would recommend is trying to put in surface swales. The surface swale is basically a shallow surface ditch that would run through your yard. Usually it's going to be, you're just going to plant it back in grass, so it's easy to maintain, easy to mow, don't have to worry about erosion problems. And they're generally 3 foot to 5 foot wide and 8 inches to 12 inches deep in the center. So they sort of just blend in with the rest of the yard. But if you think about the volume of a triangle that size, that's a large amount of water that they can handle and be able to pass through. So even with these real intense rainfalls, they're going to be able to handle that water.
Okay. What if I just don't want a grass ditch in my backyard? Is there something maybe prettier I could do with that?
So a lot of it just depends on what you're wanting to do. So you could do a rock-lined waterway if you want sort of a dry creek bed look. You could do a rain garden.
What's a rain garden?
So a rain garden is a garden that is put in for the intense purpose of trying to infiltrate stormwater into the ground. And it's, sizes on it can vary from real small to however big you want to make them. But basically it's a shallow depression. Around here, because of the clay soils we have, they're only about 3 inches deep, that the water will flow into. It'll pond some of that water and allow it to infiltrate over time. And then the excess water will then, you have a spillway on it, and it'll then continue through your property.
So it's the same concept as that ditch, but it's just holding it there for a period of time.
Correct. And then you can plant it with a myriad of plants to have an attractive garden that you can enjoy.
So you're saying that obviously you can come out and check out people's yards in Hamilton County and maybe make some recommendations, but really we need to be concerned about where that water is coming onto our property and where it's leaving, because we're not allowed to change that,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
Now, what if my uphill neighbor did some modifications in his yard and diverted the water such that it's coming into my basement now?
So at that point, try to work with your neighbor to, change that drainage pattern. If they diverted that onto your property where it didn't used to come onto your property, try to work with them. Obviously, that's the first thing you need to do.
Is there anything you can do? Is there any regulations that you can make him do anything? Or
No.
Okay.
So water rights laws in Ohio are all civil laws. So you would have to take them to court and sue him for damages. There's nothing that us as a county can come out and say, hey, you have to change this. We can come out and give recommendations, but we also don't give unsolicited recommendations. So if you want me to come out and talk to your neighbor about his drainage problems, I can't do that. If you want to get your neighbor to come out and talk to you both about combined drainage problems, we're happy to do that. But we're not here to mediate, between just, about drainage disputes.
Right, but you can give some really great advice about that.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. So we've talked a lot about some things that we can do about the stormwater on our property when it's already there. Are there things that we can do to kind of prevent some of that stormwater from being on our property?
So the rain garden is one option, to help infiltrate it, and that'll keep rainwater off the next person downhill. You can also install rain barrels.
What are rain barrels?
So rain barrels are a barrel, usually a plastic barrel, around a 55-gallon drum size, that you attach to your gutter system. And when it rains, some of the water from your gutter system is then diverted into that barrel, fills the barrel up, and that's all water that then is not going out into the yard. You can then use that rain barrel to water your plants or water your yard or water your garden.
So it's kind of like free water.
Yeah, and you're not using water from the tap to water your garden.
So let's head back to the office to learn about some things that you can do to keep track of rainfall in your area. So we just got back from the field with Aaron and we talked a lot about rainfall and drainage issues. And there's a lot of things that you can do to keep track of rainfall and weather conditions in your area. For example, we have a rain gauge. Aaron, could you tell us a little bit about that rain gauge?
So this is just a basic rain gauge, plastic, stick it out in your yard, someplace that's away from the building and not underneath the tree canopy. And basically if it rains, you go out and read how much it is. Last night we got 1.1 inches of rain. We'll come in, check it in the morning. We then, record that amount, dump it out, and reset. Stick it back in the yard for to check it the next day. This is, like I said, this is a basic one. You can get electronic ones that actually record all that data for you. It just depends on how detailed you want to be.
And that's really good information to have, because we talked about the rain barrels and saving some of that water so we can water our plants. We know we don't need to water our plants today because it just got 1 inch of rain last night. So there's a lot of things you can do. Check out in the comments some of the websites for citizen science projects about weather and rainfall. So thanks for joining us, and Aaron especially, thanks for taking us out in the field and learning a little bit more about sustainability in Hamilton